All right, so we're going to look at what the student dashboard looks like from the student perspective. And we're going to just use my son's account to kind of show you what the different features are. So, first of all, what you'll notice is that there appears to be folders in this account. These folders are actually just the rosters that the student is attached to. These are not the folders that you create within your account. So students will not have folders. They'll only have um, folders that are actually rosters that they are assigned to. So usually the student will have two um, folders, or what appears to be folders. The first one is for the roster that they're assigned to, and then they're going to have an old work folder that is anything that got unassigned or removed from their account. Okay. Also, you'll notice that the assignments get sorted alphabetically. So some teachers choose to use some type of numbering system to try to get their assignments in an order. If the student wants to reverse the order, they can just toggle this and it will reverse it to the opposite numbering system or lettering system, which is handy for those users that do some type of numbering. Um, all right, so now let's go ahead and look at some of the other features that the student has. Students are able to search for assignments up here. So for example, if my son wanted to look for all of his English assignments, he can just type in English up here and it will filter just those assignments. If my son wanted to add another account, so if I were to assign a different roster to him, he could put that roster code in here and it would create another folder that is actually the new roster that he's assigned to. You'll also see here that that he can see where he's been given feedback, and if he clicks here, it'll tell him where the feedback is, and you can click and it'll take you directly to that feedback. So there was a sticker here that he got and he could see exactly where it is. The other thing is that his grades will show up, but only when the grades feature is toggled on. So to kind of talk through that a little bit more, I'm going to show you the corresponding assignment on my side. So I'm going to look at this assignment that says your and your, and we're going to look at the different features that are with assign. So for example, right now you can see that grades is toggled on, which is why he has a grade here. So if I were to toggle them off, he would no longer see the grade. Now, his grade, he actually had 37 out of 35, and that's because I gave him some extra stickers that had points attached. Um, he can, I can also hide the assignment from his view. So if I put that on, the assignment is now nowhere to be found either in his current work or in his old work. So he no longer has access to it. Another option is that I can go ahead and remove the roster. So right now, he does have access to it. He can see it. But if I remove the roster, what you'll notice is that the assignment disappears from the roster, but then it goes into his old work. And he's still able to see whatever settings that I had. So since the grades were turned on, he's still able to see the grades and whatnot. It is still in his old work folder. For myself, if I want to add that roster back, I can go ahead and add it back, and it will make the assignment go back to up to where the roster was. And if I toggle on his grades, you can see that it actually still keeps his grades, still keeps his work and whatnot. It does get assigned a new code, which can be helpful if you're trying to make it so that students only use a roster code for an exam and you want to disable the code temporarily while you're grading it and whatnot. So that way they can't access it at all. Okay. Now, the other thing that we can look at is we can look at what the actual assignment looks like within within Classkick. So if we're in here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple different things. Number one, right now, I put a whole bunch of fill in the blanks that are auto grading. And so my son's able to type in there or to draw on the page. However, if I were to lock the assignment, you'll see that he now gets this notification at the bottom that says that the assignment is locked and he can no longer click into those. Also, his entire toolbar here has been disabled. Okay. In looking at the whole assignment, so this here will return him to all of his assignments. He can also click up here, and that will show him all the views or all the pages that are assigned for that assignment. And by clicking back on a page, it'll take him just to one of those individual pages. So if you want your kids to be able to kind of overview all the pages, that's a really quick and easy way for them to do so. This bell up at the top will tell them if they have feedback on any of the pages. So here he can click and see that I had put some feedback on slide 2. And if he clicks on it, it will show him what the feedback was. Again, I actually just put a sticker that was 5 points, which is above the total. But I just did that to try to show you how the feedback function works. Another thing is that if the helpers tool is enabled, the student will actually get another button up here in the top that will allow them to see which of their peers needs help. But that only appears when the helpers is toggled on in your assignment dash. Okay. As for the rest, they have most of the same functionality of teachers. They don't have stickers or manipulatives, but they are able to access all these other tools. If they need to ask for help, I'm going to show you what that would look like. So if they need to ask for help, they can click up here and say, please check. And if they say, please check, you'll get a green hand. They can also put their hand down, or they can put their hand up and say, please help, in which case you'll get a yellow hand. Okay. Another thing that they can do is they can click here and they can actually type messages. This is a little bit hidden down here, but they can type a message, in which case you'll get a notification here that there was a message typed to you using that messaging tool. Okay. And then lastly, if you have gone on their page and written things, so I'm going to look at this page. If I were to give my son some feedback, and I'm just going to go ahead and scribble for a second. If my son didn't want to view what I had written or something that I wrote is kind of in his way, they can actually toggle that off by pressing this button right here. Okay, so some common errors that kids have when they are trying to use Classkick. Number one is that if they're trying to actually click on a link, so like if they were trying to type in here, sometimes you'll see a whole bunch of dots. And the reason for that is that they're trying to access the fill in the blank, but they need to actually be on a pointer tool. So they have to be on a pointer tool to be able to access manipulatives or anything like that. So especially if you're seeing a whole bunch of highlighter or pen tools, that's because they haven't realized that they are on the wrong feature. Another thing is that Classkick will not, it doesn't auto size their text. So, and in this case, this answer would be wrong, but a lot of times a kid, if the text is too big for the box, they may assume that they are incorrect. I'm going to look at one other thing just to kind of show you a little bit more about how the feedback looks. So notice that at first the box is a dash line because they haven't input feedback. If I were to go ahead and toggle grades off, okay, so if I were to go ahead and toggle grades off and my son was to type in an answer here, which is completely wrong. He wouldn't get any feedback. The only thing that it would say is it would just still have a green box. Once I've actually toggled the grades on, I'm going to take this off here. Once I've toggled the grades on, then he will see either a red box if it's incorrect or a green box if it is correct, and however many points were assigned. All right, so hopefully that helps. Let me know if you guys have questions.